Howdy folks, Tex Grebner here with Tex Grebner Outdoors.
I am not superhuman. I am not super talented. All that I have going for me is a dogged determination and a deplorable excess of charisma. I am an unsponsored and independent traditional shooter. I cannot afford to keep up with the rat race that is the archery industry. What I mean by I am a traditional shooter, even though I have a compound bow in my hands, is that I shoot without a stabilizer, without a release, and without sights. My traditional archery brothers and sisters are going to look at this video as blasphemy because I'm shooting a compound. Many compound shooters are probably going to look at this video as me being a pretentious asshole. Now, while I am Tex fucking Grebner, I am not interested in shaming anyone. Do what you feel you should do. I do not know how to fix my engine. So if I have a problem with my vehicle, I pay a mechanic money because he has those skills that I don't. There are two commodities in life. There are skills and there is money. And in order to get both, it takes a lot of work. I originally got into traditional archery, as I said, because I could not keep up with the rat race of getting a new bow every year, getting a new sight every year, getting a new rest every year, getting a new stabilizer, a new release, what have you. All the junk that I would throw on my compound bow to compensate for my lack of skill. When it comes to shooting without sights, it takes a lot of work. But it is my opinion that you are better served in putting work into skills rather than putting work into money to buy gear to compensate for skills that you do not have. Miyamoto Musashi said that a warrior should not have a favorite weapon. Everybody wants a lightweight, good shooting, quiet bow. I think that that's what all of us want. When I see somebody with a rod hanging off the end of their bow to stabilize it, I think, can you not control your weapon that you need a stabilizer?
Here! You'll need this.
I cannot lift this.
Grow stronger.
I know, I sound like an asshole. But, if you want a bow that is lightweight, quiet, and shoots well, pull all the whiz-bang bullshit off of it and shoot an arrow that is heavy enough to absorb all of the potential energy from your bow. The less shit you've got hanging off your bow to vibrate, the quieter it is going to be. And the less energy that you leave in that bow by shooting a heavier arrow that's going to absorb that energy, the less vibration that you're going to have. It takes work. It takes time to develop skills, both in developing skills as a hunter to locate and get close to game, but as an archer, it takes time to develop skills in order to be able to pull that string back to your face and know without a shadow of a doubt you will make this shot. And it takes discipline. So if this is a path that you're wanting to walk, be prepared to put in the work. But if you want a quiet bow that is lightweight, pull all the whiz-bang bullshit off of it and learn how to master your own body and how to control your own equipment so that it is an extension of your own will.
With all of that being said, I'm still actually going to talk about how to set your sights. But this is all assuming that you do have a peep set correctly in your string, that you have your draw weight correctly set, and that you have your draw length correctly set. Now, when you're shooting fingers with a compound bow, you want your draw length set so that your middle finger just touches the corner of your mouth. It's going to be a lot shorter than what you would think that it is. But this keeps you from turning your head into the string that's going to cause the front of your arrow to move side to side. You want that knock of your arrow directly under your eye. Now, if you're shooting with a D-loop and a release, you can probably back your draw length out as far as you want, as long as you shoot with a relaxed front hand. Everything's eventually going to be pulled into alignment. But you want to make sure at this point that you have your peep sight, meaning your rear sight, and your draw length and your draw weight set. Obviously, at this point, you're going to need some arrows. Now, you're also going to need an arrow rest. Right now, what I have on this is an NAP 360. It works good for shooting with fingers because it's a full capture rest. I also, if I can find it, there it is. I also have a two-pronged rest from the Allen Company. Now, the irony is, when I started shooting fingers on a compound bow, I actually tried all these fancy type rests, and I ended up coming back to an Allen style rest for a while until I ended up getting into an NAP 360. But because of the string angle on a compound bow, shooting it with fingers, the NAP flipper rest, you're probably going to have your string torqued a little bit, and it's going to be very difficult to keep your arrow on that rest once those cams roll over and you probably jerk to the back. But the NAP flipper rest works great on Jaguars and on Samick Sages. But enough about my traditional archery. Assuming that you have everything set up correctly, you're going to bolt your sight on. Now, I bought this purely for this video. Just a quick note about arrow rests. There is nothing wrong with a whisker biscuit, and if you can afford one, a drop-away full capture rest like a QAD, probably your best option. But, obviously, as I said, I can't keep up with fancy type equipment, so you can get away with something like an NAP 360 that's going to cost about $30, or even one of these two-pronged Allen Company rests for about $20. Once you've got everything set up correctly, your rest is plumb and set, and you've got this sight bolted on. If you are shooting high, chase your arrow. Move your sight up. That's going to cause your arrow to drop when you drop your bow arm to bring your rear sight and your front sight into alignment on that kill zone. Now you're going to want to set your windage adjustment first. Now if you've ever set up an AK style rifle, the rear sight never really moves. You pull it all the way back to the battle notch and leave it there. But your rear sight on a bow, which would be your peep sight, never moves once you've got it set up correctly and served in. So, you have to do everything up front. Move your front sight on the course windage elevation to the left if you're shooting to the left, to the right if you're shooting to the right. You're going to want to do this at a fairly close distance of 10 or fewer yards. That way, you have minimal chance for human error. Because once you've actually got your windage set and everything tightened down good and tight, you're never really going to have to mess with it again. All compound bow sights that are modern in their design have a coarse windage adjustment and a coarse and a fine elevation adjustment. You're obviously at this point going to need some arrows. So make sure that you've got arrows that are matched up to your bow. But 10 yards with your best form, your best foot forward, and when you're fresh, draw your bow back, put your pin on the kill zone where you want your arrow to hit, and shoot 3 arrows. And if you're shooting to the left, move the sight on the course windage adjustment to the left. If you're shooting to the right, move it to the right. You're chasing your arrow the exact same way that you would adjust the front sight on an AK style rifle. Now, take a break, chill out, don't get in a hurry, because follow through is incredibly important when shooting to sight in your pins for elevation. Because if you're dead tired and you're dropping your bow arm, eventually you're going to run out of adjustment, and then the next time that you actually go to shoot your bow, you're going to be shooting ridiculously high. So obviously, make sure that you've got everything tightened down every time that you shoot, but your course elevation adjustment is all that you're working with. If you're shooting high at 10 yards, move your sight up. That's going to drop your bow down. If you're shooting low, move your sight down. That's going to raise your bow. Obviously, 3 arrows at a time, and we're shooting this at 10 yards. That way there is minimal human error, and most compound bows will shoot the same point of impact at 10 yards as they will at 20 yards. 20 yards is the most common first pin setting. Now, stop. Just stop. You do not want to sight in your pins all on the same day, especially if you've got one of them super fancy 7-pin sights. Sight in 1 pin per day. So the next day we come back and we're going to sight in our second pin at 30 yards. These have small screws on the side of them. You back that screw out, slide your sight down, but there is a small chance that you're actually going to have that pin in the correct position. So take a 3-shot group at 30 yards on your fresh day before you actually move your 30-yard pin. If it's shooting high, move it up. you may find, depending on your arrow combination with your bow, that your 10-yard impact and your 30-yard impact are the same as your 20-yard impact. So now you would actually be using your 20-yard pin for 10, 15, and 30. That's quite uncommon if you're shooting an actual hunting arrow, but it is possible that you might not actually need your second pin to be your 30-yard pin. Now, take a break. Once you've got your second pin set, wait a day, come back fresh, shoot with your third pin. On a 5-pin sight, it should take you an entire week of 5 days to actually get this thing set. Remember, if you're shooting high, move your sight up. Move your pin up. If you're shooting low, move your sight down. That's going to cause your bow to raise up once you've actually got your pin centered in your peep. It's exactly the same concept that you use when zeroing an AK style of rifle. However, in my case, if a bow is a good bow coming from the factory, all you really need on it is an arrow rest. You don't need any stabilizers if you don't go bolting any other shit to it, because it should come balanced from the factory. Now, the way that I tune my arrow rest is with the plumb bob principle. Take 2 nails, or you can actually do this hanging on a bow press. But you take your 2 nails and you knock your arrow on the string, or you can do this with a bow square, and that bow is always going to hang straight down. But that arrow, because of gravity, is always going to hang straight down from your string. And that's the best way that I have ever found to actually make sure that your rest is perfectly centered. Now, if you're shooting blazer vanes, you may have to take your rest off of center to make sure that you clear your cables. But with that all being said, I hope that this video has been helpful to you. Remember, new videos every Saturday. As always, God bless all my sportsmen of America. Join the NRA to protect our rights. This got my friends over at SOETacticalGear.com. Thank you very much to those of you involved in law enforcement and those of you serving in the military. Thanks for watching Texas Grebner Outdoors. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it on all your social media.